I first noticed her while walking along the beach alone. The deserted shore stretched in both directions, no one but me and her. She was trudging behind about a kilometer away, her black dress and disheveled black hair blowing in the wind. At the time, I didn't think much of it and continued living my life, unaware that she was slowly approaching me with every heartbeat. I didn't see her for several months. And then one day, I found myself in a deserted parking lot near a shopping center around midnight. I came out of the store with a bag of groceries in hand. There were very few cars left in the parking lot, just a few, and they were clustered near the main entrance. She stood at the far end of the parking lot, directly under the streetlight, about 200 meters away from me. Still too far to make out her face, but that black dress and disheveled hair, it gave me a sense of déjà vu. I don't think I remembered the lone figure on the beach back then, but nevertheless, it was eerie. I began to notice her more and more. Every time I had to park in a large parking lot, like at a shopping center or a movie theater, I saw her peeking at me from behind the roofs of parked cars or standing under a tree near the parking lot exit. The same black dress and disheveled black hair. Eventually, I started seeing her on my street, just peeking out at night from behind the neighbor's house or among the trees in my own backyard. One time, I even called the police, told them someone was hiding in the woods behind the house, and asked them to come check. I could only watch as the police searched among the trees, and she just stood there, looking straight at me. The officers circled around. I could swear they even bumped into her a few times, but in the end, they told me they found nothing. No people, not even any traces. So is it all in my head? I honestly tried not to think about her, but she kept getting closer and closer. There I am, having lunch with friends at a restaurant, and she's standing at the bus stop across the road. There I am, taking my dog for a walk, and she's watching us from the windows of neighboring houses, closer and closer. When she was only 12 to 15 meters away from me, I could already see the expression on her face. There was a streak of mascara on her cheek, but there was a smile on her face. I can't explain it. Something about that picture made me think she was happy, almost jubilant. Maybe those were tears of joy. Sometimes I feel like it was the face of someone who lost a loved one, but remembers the good times. On bad days, I thought she was completely insane. 3 nights in a row, she pressed herself against the windows of my house, watching me as I cooked, cleaned, and watched TV. I couldn't sleep, and when I turned off the lights, the street lamps cast her huge, grotesque shadow on my house. I tried to talk to her. I asked questions. I made demands. I begged until I cried, but she didn't respond. She didn't make a sound, didn't move. She didn't even blink. I took time off work, stopped sleeping and eating, spent all my free time pacing around the living room, shouting at the woman outside my window or crying. Thoughts swirled in my head. How quickly I lost everything I had built so hard in this life. How quickly my entire existence spiraled into chaos because of a few damaged neurons or a chemical imbalance. But no matter how much I tried to convince myself that all of this was just a product of my sick imagination, there was a feeling that I couldn't shake off. Everything seemed so real. Of course, my diseased brain would consider any hallucination real. Any lunatic believes their visions are real. But there was something about this woman that I just couldn't explain. It's like I knew she would eventually come, that I needed to mark that date on the calendar. I can't explain it. I needed some fresh air, so I grabbed the dog and took her for a walk. The longest walk of my poor dog's life. We walked for hours and got far miles away from home, but we couldn't escape the woman watching us. She peered out from behind fences, from behind trees in the park. I swear she even watched us from the back seats of passing cars. But we kept going. Outside of the house, I felt freer, as if I had the chance to escape if things went really wrong. Plus, there was something terribly insulting about turning your own home, your only sanctuary, into a damn zoo. I was afraid to go back. but I had to. The walk quickly turned into torment for the animal. She needed water and rest. Whatever mess I got myself into, it was my fault, not hers. I decided to just ignore the woman who spent days pressing her face against my kitchen window. I hadn't slept for several days, so I just wanted to have a glass of water, take a shower, and go to bed. I managed the first 2 steps, but not the third. I just couldn't resist. I had to look at her one more time. Imagine you're swimming in the ocean and someone shouts "shark." Can you ignore that? I cautiously peeked out from the hallway into the kitchen, staring at the large window where she had been stationed for the past few nights. She wasn't there. When you're swimming in the ocean and someone shouts "shark," the scariest part is when you don't see it. My mouth instantly went dry. I turned on the floodlights in the backyard. No one. I ran through the dark house to the front windows and looked outside. No one. What the hell? I've never been so scared in my life. Where is she? Why didn't the creepy feeling that someone was watching me go away? I sat on the couch and clasped my head in my hands. No sleep. I need to make coffee and think things through. I got up, went to the kitchen, and turned on the light. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw legs. It was her. Standing in the corner of the living room, peering at me from behind the curtains, just a few meters away from the couch. She was in my house. This wasn't acceptable. It frightened me. It offended me. It made me feel weak and vulnerable. Even as I retched onto the kitchen floor, I didn't dare break eye contact with her. I made myself some coffee and sat at the kitchen table with a knife in my hand. I had no idea what good a knife would do against this woman, whoever she was, but without it, I felt utterly defenseless. We stared at each other for hours. I threw things at the stranger, but they all seemed to just pass through her. I had to do something, and I had a planned stare at this creature until I died of exhaustion. Not much of a plan. So I made a decision. I ran to the garage and jumped into the car. At least she wouldn't be in my house anymore. I opened the garage door and started the car. But when I turned to reverse out of the driveway, I found her sitting right behind me in the back seat. It was too much. The thought of her being so close turned my stomach inside out. I got out of the car and ran. I ran and ran, but every time I looked back, I saw she was there. Not approaching, not falling behind, but always very close. Too close. Eventually, I reached my destination, the police station. At least they could throw me in a cell under round-the-clock guard. It went just as I had hoped. If the police were good for anything, it was locking up mentally ill people. They threw me into solitary confinement, about 2.5 by 2.5 meters. A small bed, a toilet, and a sink, that's it. I honestly don't remember what I did. I was just relieved to finally have witnesses. No more being alone with her. But she didn't stop. Even sitting in the cell, I saw her pressing her face against the glass window in the door. But I was too tired to think about it. At least she wasn't inside. I don't know how long I slept, but when I woke up, she was kneeling next to me with the same agonizing smile on her face. Before I could scream, the woman reached out and touched my left shoulder. It instantly exploded with sharp pain, a fire spreading down my arm and chest. I screamed. My breath became labored, and my vision started to narrow. It felt like a phantom hand had seized and crushed my heart. Trying to stand ended with me falling on my stomach. I managed to call for help before the world vanished. I woke up in the hospital. A heart attack. Fortunately for me, there were paramedics in the building, and they arrived in time. This all happened about 6 months ago. I saw her again 6 weeks ago. This time she's moving faster. Within a couple of weeks, I could see her face. She looks angrier. She's displeased with me. And she's holding something in her hand, but I can't tell what exactly she's holding her hand behind her back. I'm writing this on my laptop, sitting in bed, and she's frozen in the bedroom doorway, still staring at me with the same grimace. But it doesn't matter. I'm going to take a sleeping pill now and go to sleep. She'll probably be right next to the bed when I wake up. If I wake up, that is. Then it will be clear what she's hiding behind her back. I'm not afraid. I want to end this crap. It's a shame to leave the dog. But I made sure she wouldn't be left alone. I've already sent a message to my sister, asked her to come over tomorrow after lunch. She has a key. I hope I have time to say goodbye.